Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the previous lectures, we have discussed the food constituents. In food constituents, we discussed the fats, carbohydrates, proteins, and then vitamins and minerals. Today, in this lecture, we are going to discuss the classification of the foods. The classification of food is basically the systematic arrangement of information to classify the food in specific groups on the basis of the properties, some specific properties which it contains. Remember that each and every expert, that is the expert in nutrition, the expert in chemistry, the expert in food, the expert in some other disciplines, will classify the food on the basis of their own choice and their own needs and requirements. In this context, the nutritionist will classify the food on the basis of its nutritional value and the nutrients this food contains. Remember that all foods have different food constituents and different properties, and the nutritionist will classify the foods into different groups on the basis of the nutritional value which it can provide on consumption. On the other hand, the chemist will classify the food on the basis of the chemical composition and the chemical nature. The chemical composition means that how much ingredients are present in it, and the chemical nature with which it can react and what kind of end product it will prepare. And its reactions with the container in which it is packed, and then its reactions with the processing equipments, its reactions with the preservatives which are used for its preservation, and some other ingredients which are added to it. So the food chemist will classify the food on the basis of the chemical composition, that is, what type of reactions will take place in the food components, and what type of reactions will take place with the food in the food components, with in the container, and with the additives which are added to it. And thirdly, the food scientist and technologist will also classify the food on the basis of two things. Mainly, if we discuss the food science and technology, a large work have been done on it. A huge work have been done on it when it was established that what is the food science, what is the food technology, which we can call the food technology and which we can call the food science, and which can be termed as the food science and technology. In the upcoming lectures, in the next series, we will discuss that in detail. Now we are discussing the classification of food on the basis of the classification made by the food scientist and technologist. The food scientist and technologist classify the food on the basis of two things, that is, its perishability, that how much moisture content it contains. Perishability means that how much moisture content it can contain. And remember that the moisture content determines the shelf life of the food commodities. If the moisture content of the food commodity is high, the shelf life of the food commodity will be low, and if the moisture content is low, the shelf life will be high. Similarly, they classify the food on the basis of the pH value, that is its susceptibility to the microorganisms and the enzymes. Remember that the microorganisms and enzymes are sensitive to the pH, and they can be affected and controlled by adjusting the pH. Some microorganisms and enzymes can perform best at one pH, while the performance of those specific microorganisms and enzymes will be affected, will be enhanced or adversely affected by adjusting the pH of the food commodities. So the food scientists and technologists are interested to determine and classify the food on the basis of its perishability, that is to control its water content, moisture content, and also to adjust its pH to extend the shelf life of the food commodities. In this lecture, we just discussed that how they classify the food and what are the parameters. The parameters are varying from person to person or from expert to expert due to their needs and due to their requirements. While in the upcoming lecture, we will discuss the classification of the food on the basis of the perishability, and after that, it will be discussed that how the food is classified on the basis of the pH value. If you have any question or any idea, you can discuss and you can incorporate. Thank you.